Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us once again here at SGTV. Today we are talking to Mike Page from Residual Current. Today we're going to be talking about the differences between being employed and being self-employed. So Mike, thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Hello, mate. I'm very good, thank you.
Before we get into the ins and outs of being self-employed and being employed, because a lot of the people we speak to on SGTV are mainly are self-employed. They run their own, usually domestic firms, small domestic businesses doing your typical domestic jobs, really. But so tell us a bit about yourself before we get into it.
Yeah, my name's Mike. I'm 24. I've been an electrician for almost 9 years. I've been self-employed, employed, and I've recently set up as a limited company as well. So I've seen sort of all avenues, I guess, a little bit. I really enjoy my job and post about it a lot on social media.
So most people will they'll be an apprentice, so you could say they're employed. They might work for a small company for a period of time or stay with the company they were taken on as apprentice. And usually their end goal then is to think, right, I want to run my own business, typically do domestic work or small commercial jobs. So which way did you go? Because you've gone from, well, I'll let you explain.
Yeah. So my brother was working for a commercial industrial company, and I left school, and I could have done better, so to speak. So he said, right, come and work with me, and I'd sort of come round to the idea anyway of being an electrician. So I
Come
went
round to the idea. Did it take some convincing? Were you not too sure?
I weren't too sure, but so I don't regret it at all. It's the best thing I ever did. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. There's so much pressure at that age of, oh, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And half of you don't know what you're going to do. So I did that, and then I worked for him through the summer at 15, because I left school. I was one of the youngest in the year. So when I left school in May, I weren't quite 16 yet, basically, until the July. So I worked with them from May all the way through till September, and then September came round, and I said, right, I want to sign up for college. This is what I want to do. And they said, yeah, fine. We're not going to do that though. And I was like, right. And then they go, yeah, we want nothing to do with the college sort of thing. So you're going to have to sort that out yourself. And I was self-employed as well. So I'd set up a UTR, I'd set up as a sole trader, because that's what they had told me to do. And then when I went to college, they were like, no, you need to be employed. And I was like, well, I'm not. And then when I spoke to my company, they're like, well, we don't want nothing to do with that anyway. So they wanted the apprentice, but they didn't want any of the strings attached. And I learned a lot from the company. They're really neat and taught me really, really well. A lot of where I am today to that company, but they treated me really badly as a member of staff, basically, and as an apprentice. But yeah, so the long and short of it was my sister, her partner was a domestic electrician working in the local area, and he didn't want an apprentice or nothing like that. But what he said, because I was at this family barbecue, and it was just, I was worried about going to college and all that, and how am I going to do it? And he said, look, I'll say you work for me, I'll say you're employed for me, but you'll work for them. And as far as college are concerned, it was sponsoring, basically. I'll sponsor you. And then that was why I was a self-employed apprentice. Basically, I was doing my own tax returns. I was doing my own, sorting all my own tax out, buying all my own stuff as an apprentice, because I weren't employed. And when the assessor would come out and assess me, I would have to go and work for him for the day. And do you know what I mean? And then it was just all mad. But so then I, eventually got qualified and stuff like that. I was on quite good money, actually, I was on like £30 a day, which was terrible. And then the second year it went up to £40 a day. But in the third year, I think I was on around 110, which is really, really good for a third year apprenticeship. Because what had happened was the industrial company had gone quiet, and then my brother-in-law did need an electrician. So I went and worked for him in the domestic sector. So I'd done like 3 years for this industrial company. They'd gone quiet. And then I'd basically finished my apprenticeship, which would come at a really good point, because there was lots more on-site assessments in the first year. There was lots more of that sort of stuff with college. And I'd actually, in the third year, and I'd gone back to work with him. So they were none the wiser. It was great. And then I got qualified because it was a 3-year apprenticeship, but basically took 4 years because we just had a bad college experience. Had like 6 tutors and just loads of drama. So it was ended up being about 4 years. So I spent my last year doing domestic, and I carried on working for him for 2 years after that in the domestic sector. And he was all right. And my brother-in-law, I don't work for him anymore, but he basically would drop me on a job and go, right, there you go. And I was, for better or for worse, I made many mistakes, but I owe a lot to that as well, because I learned how to run jobs, deal with clients, order materials, because he'd literally drop me off at a house rewire and go, right, there you go. And then so I'd have to get the book out because I wouldn't know, how to do stuff, and then I wouldn't be able to get hold of him, and so that helped me for 3 years doing domestic. And at the end, I was pretty, I was a pretty good domestic installer. I was smashing rewires, smashing little jobs, and all that. And then that came to an end. He would do like commercial as well, so he would do like installing sockets in factories and stuff like that, which is what I really enjoyed. And then I left him, and my brother was working for the company I'm working for now. And he said, you need to come over, it's great. And then I was like, okay. But he said, we get to work together, but I've told them how good you are and how well we work together. But I'm leaving, and that, I said he's going for a project manager role. So he said the one reason why I'm allowed to leave is if I get you in. So he got me in, and then he left, and then he's back on the tools with us now, just because he didn't enjoy the project managing. But yeah, I worked for this company for a year, and we got on really well. They gave me I was back in industrial environments, back doing what I loved, and they gave me lots of responsibility as well. I was running a 7-story strip out at like 19. Do you know what I mean? At 20 actually, and I had like 5 electricians under me, going in meetings with people would laugh. They'd go, right, where's your boss, and all that, but it was really good because pressure makes diamonds, some say, and it helped. Basically, it really, really helped with my experience that I gained and all that, being in a high pressure. It was stressful. It's probably the most stressful couple of years of doing these big jobs. But yeah, and it basically got to the point after a year of working with them where they were like, look, you need to go on the cards, because they are very by the book. So if you sub to a company for more than, I think it's 6 months, maybe it's even 6 weeks, they should employ you, basically. If you are a sole trader, if you are set up that way. So they are very by the book in that sense anyway. They're like, we should employ you. And it was good. I just had my little girl, she's 2 years old now, but I just had her, and we were just moving out. So I needed a bit of security anyway, because we were going out and getting our own home and stuff. And yeah, the money was good, the perks were good. There's a lot of progression at the company, and there still is and stuff, and it's just a really, really good company, and they'd invested in me a lot. They'd paid for qualifications and stuff, so I said, yeah, I'm gonna be employed, and it's the first time after 7 or 8 years of working, and I didn't have to do invoices anymore. My tax was all sorted. And yeah, I got like uniform bought for me, tools bought for me, and all this nice stuff. Got a company van, which I could use in personal time, brand new Transit Custom, all kitted out and stuff. Loads of nice uniform. Holiday, sick pay, all this stuff. So, it's really, really good. And then it was around that time that I got employed, just before probably that I started my Instagram page, Residual Current. And that is basically just a blog. I enjoy my job far too much, basically, and yeah, I just share it online, and I'm really passionate about a lot of stuff. So yeah, I started doing that, and it's gained a bit of a following somehow, basically, and it's got to the point now where I get sponsorships and stuff like that, and I've got my tool shop, which is all in essence from Residual Current. We can go into that, but we won't go into it too much now. But I've got these other incomes coming in, and it was basically I only work 4 days a week now, but I was employed on a contract to work 5 and stuff. So it was me and my boss, who's been supportive of everything I've done, you know, and still is. He's sound. He's a good friend as well. He said, look, you know, let's go self-employed, but you might want to go limited, just because of the way you're going. And then, yeah, he's been supportive, and that's where I am now. I've now gone back to being self-employed. I've set up a couple of limited companies, one for the tool shop, one for my electrical contracting. Any sponsorships that come through Residual Current go through the electrical contracting, Residual Current Limited. And then the tool company is just the tools, because again, they were getting muddied as well, because like the tool company was set up as a sole trader in my partner's name. But then I was buying tools through it, and I was, you know, so it was just all not done properly. But now, yeah, I've got 2 limited companies. I'm the director of Residual Current Limited, and my partner's the director of the tool company. And it's all done officially above board, and I'm back to invoicing. I'm getting my own van sorted, although there's a massive shortage at the minute. You can't get one for love or money at the minute. I think I wanted a transporter, and I got told December. And that's a new order. If I did it a couple of weeks ago, so it'd probably be next year now.
Yeah.
If I ordered now. But yeah, I've got all those things to look forward to now.
And it's all
the journey. That's the journey.
But it seems like you've enjoyed the journey and still enjoying it. So that's one of the beauty of enjoying the job that you do, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
For any of our viewers who don't know, and it might be people thinking about setting up a self-employed and things like that, what is the difference between a sole trader and a limited company?
So as a sole trader, you are the culpable person. So all responsibility stops with you. If you invoice someone for a job, although you can have a business bank account, it's your money. It's all your money. So if you're a sole trader and you earn 100 grand that year, 200 grand or 10 grand, all of that money is yours. Obviously, you've got to pay your taxes. You've got to make your contributions to national insurance and all that stuff. But it's all your money. You could take, after you pay all your tax and all that, if you've got 80 grand left over, then that's all yours, and you can do with it as you please. The problem with it is if you get into debt, or you get into a financial situation where you need to pay money, the responsibility ends up with you. There's no distinction between your business and you. It's the same thing. So I was Mike Page Electrical Limited, and if I couldn't pay a bill, for instance, if I didn't pay any tax, right? If I set up as VAT, or I didn't do any of my tax, and the tax man came knocking, and I go, well, there's no money in the business. And he goes, right, well, you're the same person though. I'm going to take your house, and I'm going to take your TV and your car. There is no distinction. When you're set up as a limited company, it's limited. So the responsibility stops at the company. Doesn't matter who works for it, whose fault it was, or whatever, whether it's not paying tax, or whether it's liability for damage, or a fine for doing something, just any of the millions of situations that you could get into, the buck stops with the company. So if the company can't pay, the company defaults. They don't come knocking on your house, taking your stuff. And that's the main reason why people set up limited companies, not because they plan to do this stuff, but the business world can be vicious, and there's a lot of misfortune in there. So if you can limit that misfortune and that any of that sort of those problems at the company and not yourself, then people would rather do that. But then obviously it's a company, like I said, so it's separate to you. So you have to work for the company and pay yourself a wage. So if you're a sole trader and you have, after you pay your taxes and all that, you've got 100 grand in the bank, you can take that out if you want to. As if a limited company's paid all of its corporation tax and all that, and it's got 100 grand in the bank, then that stays in the company. You can't just take that out. You can pay yourself a wage, take your director's dividends and stuff like that, but you can't just, it's not your money, it's the business's money. So that's the there's a lot more to it than that, but that's the differences, I would say, to an electrician who wasn't sure about the two. That's probably No, but do seek professional advice if you're
Yeah,
looking to do it.
go speak to your accountant there.
Yeah, yeah.
So what would you say the benefits of being employed have been for you? I know you've mentioned a couple, that you didn't have to
Yeah,
sort your own tax or van or anything like that, but for anyone who likes the idea of not having to do all that kind of thing for themselves, what benefits are there?
yeah. So it's just very, it's very, set up and it's done really. All your, like I say, all your tax and your contributions to national insurance and stuff. That's all worked out beforehand, and it comes out your monthly wage. You have an agreed thing, so you have agreed hours per week, you have agreed benefits if there are any, you have agreed times and stuff like that. So if you're especially industrial, what I would find is I've got loads of overtime. I earn a lot of money through overtime. A large chunk of my salary was overtime, because you have your 8 hours, but you're contracted to that. You're employed, and that is your contract. So as soon as you go out of that, you it's overtime, and they're contracted to pay you for it and stuff like that. As when you're self-employed or whatever, you have or an agency, Spark, you go to do your timesheets, and I go, yeah, it's only 15 minutes though, or but what happens is those 15 minutes, they add up over a year. 15 minutes every day is a lot of time. So there's stuff like that where you're employed, everything's by the book. Generally there's someone looking after your HR sort of issues and stuff. There's someone to talk to and all that sort of stuff. As when you're self-employed, you're very out on your own, and you're treated as such. I felt a lot more comfortable going to the company with issues, with talking to the company, with talking about money, with talking about anything, because you're employed, and it all seems all above board. As when you're a sole trader, you're your own man, and you do get treated like that, I think, sometimes. Especially, I guess, if it's different if you're a sole trader, obviously working for yourself as a domestic electrician, then that's different. But if you're a sole trader or self-employed, working for subbing to other people as a subby, in which generally is what you'll be doing in commercial industrial, for the most people, then yeah, you are more included and stuff if you're employed. And there's none of the subbies for our firm, including myself now, get vans and stuff like that. And there's little things like that. All the vans have fuel cards. You can use them within reason if you ask in your own time and stuff like that. As now I've got to get my own van, which is going to cost me hundreds of pounds a month and all that. And although I'm on a little bit more money, I'm now paying for a van, and I don't get sick pay and holiday pay. So it
Yeah,
swings
that's
and
a big thing, isn't
roundabouts.
it? I know a lot of
Yeah,
self-employed guys are like, sick pay, holiday, what's that? And
yeah,
that's one of the realities of it, isn't it?
yeah, and especially with me, that's a benefit that shouldn't be overlooked. Especially with me, I take sick days because of my daughter. I'm perfect. I'm right as rain, but my daughter's not. So I've got to take a sick day for her. So when you look at it from that perspective, sick day, I'd never take a day off. I could be, obviously it's a bit different with COVID now. You've got to get tested and stuff, but I could be so ill, and as long as I'm not going to ruin anyone else's day, and I would be in rain or shine. And even there's been times where I've just sat there doing nothing, but been there because of responsibility issues. You need to be in, Mikey, because you need to check that this gets done, or you need to do that. So I'll be in, not on the tools because I'm that exhausted or that ill, but I'll still be there working. I'm not one to. That's why I was always self-employed, because I was like, sick pay, I never take a day off. Do you know what I mean? So for sick anyway. But now it's very different. I have to take days off because of my daughter and my son and stuff. So that was a big thing as well, the whole sick pay thing and the holiday pay thing as well. But it swings and roundabouts. I think it's about the same, to be honest. If you're a hard worker and you're self-employed, you'd probably be all right. To someone who was on the cards, and you get more money and stuff. I think if you're a good Sparks and you know your worth, then you should be self-employed.
What would you say
Looking back?
what would you say the disadvantages of being employed?
So disadvantages would be money's generally worse, because you're being compensated for that's being compensated to account for your holiday pay and your sick pay. especially in our industry. Obviously, if you went into maybe an office job or something, that's not going to be the reality of it. But because you have these two parallels within the industry, it's very much worked out, you know. So although you're getting these perks, this holiday, sick pay, you're on this money every day, you know, and that's your day rate. That's your hourly day rate, which is far less than what you would get if you were self-employed or even an agency Spark, you know, just because it's just the way it is. We've got a guy who is a subby for us, and everyone goes, he's on so much money. And they're like, yeah, but he pays a £600 a month travel card. You know, he lives in London, yeah, it's £600 a month travel card. So he's not on that much money anymore, is he? £600 of his wages every month is for him to go to work every day, you know? So it's all, yeah, you know, but you are generally on less money. You are obviously working for someone. So I love being my own boss, in the sense of I've always subbed for people, but if I don't want to go in or if I want to book a week off, then I can. And I found it weren't too bad because, like I said, I didn't really do it often, but now I've got this tool business and now I take days off just to make content for YouTube and stuff. I love the fact that, like, today I'm in my unit doing my own stuff and my boss is completely cool with that, and he can't, you know, moan because I'm self-employed. I'm my own man. As if I'm employed, he's got obviously every bug to bear, you know. You've got to be in, you've got to do what you're contracted to do. So, you know, if you struggle taking direction from other people and stuff like that, then I think you probably won't. That's a massive downside to being employed, is you're going to have a boss, you know, and the boss ultimately is going to be worried about money and profit and that sort of stuff. And, you know, that's, yeah, they're going to be a boss. They're going to crack the whip. They're going to talk to you how they need to talk to you, you know, in certain situations. And some people just don't like that. I know some self-employed subbies where, you know, if someone speaks to them in a disrespectful way on site, they'll just walk off and go get work elsewhere. You know, as when you're employed, you can't just tell your boss to, you know, do one, because, yeah.
Well,
so
you could, but you might not be employed for long.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's probably one of the downsides. The money's not as good in my experience. You've got to haggle for more. But yeah, and the benefits aren't always holiday pay and sick pay. Like I say, you know, if you don't take a lot of days off, you don't take a lot of holiday, then that money just, do you know what I mean? Is you're not getting the benefit of it, are you? So, you know, you could probably earn more. So, like, we got sick pay, but it'd just be statutory. So, you know, it's not worth it. It's terrible. It's, you know, so everyone goes, oh yeah, you get sick pay though, and it's like, yeah, it's like £70 a week. Like, that's not, you know, so that's not, yeah. But the holiday pay is obviously good. You get your day rate for the holiday pay. So that's what I mean. You'd end up taking sick days as holiday and stuff because, you know, you don't want £70 a week, and, you know, so yeah. But the money's not as good, and obviously you're working for someone at the end of the day. So that's obviously the main thing, is if you're not someone who can work for someone or you know, take direction from someone, then yeah, you're going to struggle, I think.
We've sort of covered a few of the benefits and disadvantages of being self-employed, but have you got any more you could add to that?
Benefits of being self-employed: you're your own man, you're your own boss. Money's generally better. Like I say, if you're a good electrician, I think you should be self-employed, because you can charge, if you know your worth, you can charge it if you're self-employed, because you set rates. And if people know you're good, then they'll pay them, you know. So yeah, as if you're employed, your sort of wage is your wage. You might hit a salary cap, for instance, and you can't have discrimination. So, you know, if you're all in the same job role, you can't have someone on more and stuff like that. So you might hit a ceiling where if you were employed, you could charge, you know, if you were self-employed, you could charge a lot more. So yeah, that's definitely a benefit, is you know, you can charge what you want, you know, whatever you think you're worth. And yeah, just being your own boss, being your own man. There's obviously lots of other, you know, you can claim a lot of stuff back on expenses, stuff you're allowed to, obviously. You know, your fuel and stuff like that, and you can offset that against your profits, and pay less tax. So, you know, tradesmen, generally, you're in a van every day, you're filling it up with diesel every week, so you can offset that as an expense against your tax, so you get taxed less and stuff like that. So, I think after doing both, I think the better option is self-employed 100%. I've just gone VAT registered as well, for both companies. So Loadout's hit the threshold anyway, but the electrical company won't. But I've gone VAT registered just because you can claim that 20% back on everything.
Is that once you hit a certain profit for that year in that business, you reach the VAT threshold?
If you hit, I think it's like over 80 odd grand, you have to do it, whether you like it or not, but you can voluntarily do it beforehand. So with the tool company, I voluntarily did it straight away just because I was like, if it's not earning more than that, then you know what I mean, it's probably not worth it. So they set our sights high, but also everything I buy through the tool company gets VAT put on it. So it would be stupid not to be VAT registered. But yeah, and then for the electrical contracting, I did it because I do a lot of sponsorships now, which have VAT on them and stuff, and I buy a lot of tools and I buy a lot of stuff basically. More so now that I'm sort of come as an electrician subcontractor, and my van and all that sort of stuff. So claiming back that 20% is a massive deal. And I hopefully will hit the threshold anyway. Obviously, we haven't been trading that long because I only set up in May this year. In March this year. But hopefully after a year, I hit the threshold anyway. And then I would have had to have done it. But I've just got into the swing of it early,
What do you do for sort of how you manage finance? And I mean in terms of, I hear some Sparkies or even just anyone self-employed, they'll almost have a few separate bank accounts. They'll have like the business account for the normal ins and outs. They'll have maybe a savings account for which they'll use as their holiday. So they might think, oh, X amount of percentage every month I'm just going to put into there, so I've got a holiday fund or a sick pay fund, and the same for pension or tax. Do you do anything like that?
So when I was self-employed, I didn't, but that was mainly because, like I say, when you're a sole trader, your money's your money. And although you can have a separate business bank account if you want to, you don't have to as well. So I would invoice and my wages would get paid into my personal bank account. And then obviously I had my internal savings accounts with that, as people do in their normal bank accounts. But yeah, I did have some stuff. I was a lot younger, so a lot of the money just went in and came in and went straight back out, on clothes, on my, wining and dining my my partner, and going out and stuff. But I did start to save and stuff, but like I say, that was just internal to it. It's no different to work, being employed and getting paid into your personal bank account and putting stuff away, So I always got told to get a pension sorted, which I never did, being self-employed, like a private pension. And I always got told to put money away for a rainy day in case you're sick or whatever, and I never did. But luckily, I got away with, not, I don't
playing it risky.
And then when you're employed, obviously it's a lot different. But the same for me as a self-employed subcontractor is the money got paid into my personal bank every month, and then I would, pay my bills, put stuff in my savings, and so on and so forth. Now with a limited company, obviously we've got a separate bank account, and within there I put the VAT away. So if we send any invoices that have VAT on, when they get paid, I take the VAT out and I put that straight into savings, because obviously that's not my money. It's just value added tax, so that's the government's money. And although you're going to offset VAT you've been charged against that, the best thing to do is just take the whole amount, save it, and then when you do your VAT return, you'll pay them what you owe and you maybe have some left over. And then I've got a van fund, which I'm saving for a van to actually buy one. But at the minute I'm going to lease one anyway, but on top of that I'm just going to be saving to potentially buy one, just because I don't want to lease one forever. And then I've got like a rainy day fund and a tool fund, all little savings accounts in the thing.
Yeah, and it's an easy way to manage it, isn't it? If you, rather than just everything coming out of your current account or your business account, it's good to sort of separate that.
And obviously I pay myself a wage as well, so it's the business's money. So I pay myself £800 a month now, which is below the tax threshold and below the national insurance threshold as well. So I don't actually pay any tax on national insurance because I only take an £800 a month wage into my personal account, and then all the other money stays within the business. So yeah, it's very different now to what it was.
You said earlier in the episode when we were talking about the differences of being a sole trader and a limited company. So like you said, if your business, for example, has earned, let's say, 80 grand that year, that tax year, and you pay yourself a wage and you're only paying yourself, like you say, £800 a month, for example, then you've got a massive chunk of money sat in the bank. So I want to talk it as in we're doing this above board, not sneaky ways and things like that. But how can you say if it's only you and your missus or you and your mate running a company, how can you get that money that you've earned?
So directors' dividends, basically. So it's completely above board, but it's just what a lot of people do. So you pay yourself a wage, which if you choose to pay yourself less than £800 or 11 grand a year or whatever it is, and you don't pay any tax on national insurance, which is obviously the thresholds that the government set. If you want to pay yourself more than that, that's completely fine, but obviously you will be taxed on it and what have you. But what you can do is you can pay yourself your £800 a month salary, and then, you know, where you won't have any contributions taken from it because it doesn't meet the threshold. And then you can take your director's dividends out at the end of the year, which I don't actually know what that's going to be. Obviously, it's based on the money in there. You don't want to bankrupt the company. And I think you can't take more than 80%. I don't really know. But at the end of the year or every quarterly or whatever, you can take your dividends. There is also a way of, obviously, I'm lucky now that I'm in a situation where I can live off that £800 a month. Pretty well, we're having to cut back, but yeah.
Eating a lot of tin spaghetti.
Yeah, that's what we're planning to do because, if we can live off of that, then it will be better for the business. And basically, you live by your means. So if you've got £4 grand coming into your personal bank every month, you'll probably spend it. And if you've got £800, you'll make do, sort of thing. So that's what we're doing at the minute. But yeah, and then if I wanted to, I could take money out of the business right now in the form of a director's loan. And then obviously when I want, at the end of the year or whenever the books get done, that loan would have to be settled, which you could do through your dividends. So
you're sort of borrowing from yourself to pay yourself.
Yeah. So if you wanted to, you could probably pay yourself £2 grand a month. Your £800 a month tax free, and then a £1,200 a month director's loan. And then at the end of the year, when you've got to pay the company back, you just go, well, I'll pay my director's loan back out of my dividends, which you owe me anyway. Director's loans are still taxable, director's dividends, I think there's still like 7% tax on them, but obviously it's better than the whatever the tax rate is. But yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
And it's completely above board, it's just Well,
obviously, I mean,
the nuances of it all.
We wouldn't advise people, and I know there are a lot of people in the trade who, any businesses really, massive businesses you probably buy from every day without realising it that they're swindling tax. And I don't think anyone would advise to do that, because if there's not enough tax in the pot, then it's us, the people in the country, that suffer at the end of the day, isn't it? So I think as long as people are doing things legally and above board, paying some kind of contribution, then I think that's the main thing, isn't it?
And obviously you have your corporation tax and stuff as well, so you are getting taxed in other ways. But they're taking tax out of the company too and stuff. So it's there's more to it than that. But that's how the whole wages thing works, I guess.
Do you think every electrician should have a stint of being employed before they go into full-time running their own business?
Yes and no. I think if it comes, it's about the role that comes with it, I would say. If you're going to do exactly the same job that you do now, but you are employed for the same money and stuff, then nah. But I think if So like what was good was a lot of the industrial experience I gained as an employed thingy. You know, it's a different, you're not out on your own as much and stuff like that. You're not a subby, you are part of the company. So you get looked after and nurtured and put on training courses and stuff like that. As with you're a subby, you're just a subby, you know. So that was what was really good for it for me, was I went employed and then I got, you know, put on courses and I got invested in and stuff like that. And I grew with the company a lot. I did like a year in the office doing like project management, pricing and stuff, because when you're employed, you have all these, like, you know, you can change roles and all that sort of stuff. As if you're a subcontractor and self-employed electrician, you just, you know, they're not going to then go, oh, do you want to come work in the office for a year and do some, you know, as when you're a company man, you have that opportunity to, oh, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Or because you're part of the company, you know. So yeah, I'd give it a go if you're not sure, definitely. But I think if just for the sake of saying you've done it, I would personally say self-employed is a better route. Not necessarily going limited, but being self-employed. Limited, you definitely got to look into, because if you don't earn enough, or, you know, if you haven't got certain things going on, it's not worth it. Obviously, unless you completely don't want the risk of, if anything goes wrong, having to pay it. But I know loads of electricians which are earning, their companies earn over 100 grand a year, and they are sole traders, and that's all their money, you know. As if you're a limited company, obviously it's the company's money and you pay yourself a wage, and you've got to hope that in 5 to 10 years time the company's really big, and because you're a shareholder of it, you'll be able to take your dividends out of it, rather than, you know. So
Yeah. Let's talk about your Loadout Shop. So that's something you set up recently. So for our viewers,
yeah.
what is that then?
So like I say, I've got this electrical Instagram page, and I do YouTube now as well, which is going really, really well actually. I think I've got like 25,000 followers on Instagram, and YouTube's just coming up to 8,000, I think, in 3 months, 4 months, which is mad. And then I've been doing the Instagram like 2.5 years now, so that's been a slow burner. But I just post about tools and work and stuff. And what I get all the time is, obviously I get sent tools, and I buy a lot of tools anyway, just because, yeah, it's all part of the fun. But I would always get asked, where can I get these tools from? And I'll just be sending hundreds of links to people basically all the time, to like Amazon and all this stuff. And it was the first lockdown last year, and I've always been a bit creative. I'd like to think I tried to start like a clothing thing when I was like 16, but I just had this idea come over me of Loadout, and I was playing Call of Duty at the time because we was all locked indoors, so we was all playing Call of, you know, everyone was playing it, I felt like. But it was the first lockdown before it got boring, basically.
Yeah.
When, you know, that first week off, when everyone was like, yeah, this is all right, actually. But yeah, and then I was thinking Loadout is like, you know, it's your military loadout, but really you can have like a tool loadout, and that's where the name come from. And then I work with a lot of brands, like for advertising and stuff. So I sort of reached out to a lot of them, and like all of them came back and said, yeah. So then I set up and built the website over months, and I'm quite proud of the website actually, considering it's just made by me, an electrician, you know. And then I started the Instagram page, and then we launched in August last year. And 10 months later, you know, it's a 6-figure business. We've sold hundreds of tools, and yeah, we've got massive brands: Vito, CK, Superrod, Klein, Draper, Nipex, Velocity Bag. You know, we've got good gear on there basically, and it's going really, really well. It takes up a lot of time. There's a separate Instagram for that, Loadout Shop, and that's got 11,000 now in 10 months, which is mad. And yeah, we just sell tools, and it was just a side thing, really. I think it was all a bit scary when COVID first came, and we ended up working all the way through it. Just because a lot of our work was remote and stuff like that, and the commercial sector didn't stop, basically, for better or for worse, but it wasn't stopping. We was even getting, so the commercial thing didn't really stop, all the industrial work, so we ended up working all the way through it. But when it first started, there was just this uncertainty of, oh, maybe I should have, if I can do that, maybe I should do something, you know, as like a side thing, you know, another stream of income, basically. And then, yeah, luckily I'm really passionate about tools and stuff anyway. So I make videos talking about them and you know, using them and stuff. And that's obviously, I think people like buying from an electrician. People like buying from, they go on my page, they watch a YouTube video of me using the tools rather than just some salesman trying to sell them, you know. And the other thing is we don't really stock, we stock good stuff, I like to say. So, you know, if we don't rate it, we won't stock it. So, and I think people know that now, and especially know that because it's run by an electrician who works every day as well. 4 days a week now, but yeah, I think they like that. I guess I get told all the time they love, you know, I love buying from an electrician. I love supporting an electrician, and I think that's. So yeah, I get asked all the time, when are you just going to do Loadout full time? And I'm like, never, because people only like buying from Loadout because I'm an electrician, you know. And also I love the tools too much, and Loadout is very much sitting on a laptop listing tools and, you know, in an e-commerce, and it's just not me. I do it, and my partner does all the work, to be fair. She does all the admin, all the running of it and stuff. And as it gets bigger, we'll need other people involved, but I just do the content and stuff. So people very much think I do it all, but honestly, I just do the fun stuff that everyone gets to see. She does everything, and I really don't enjoy the laptop stuff. Same with, like, I did a year, like I say, project managing and in the office for my company, and I really didn't like it. I'm a practical person at heart, you know.
I think that's why a lot of people get into the industry, isn't it? They enjoy the practical side of work.
Yeah. And then, you know, 10 years time, I'll probably be begging for the best job, you know, because I'll be washed up. But
when your knees are knackered and your back don't work anymore.
Exactly.
So before we finish this episode, where can our viewers find you on YouTube and places like that?
Yeah, so Instagram is @Residual Current, YouTube's @Residual Current. I post every day on Instagram. I post every week on YouTube. And if you're interested in the best tools that you can get your hands on as an electrician or any technical trade, then it's @Loadout.shop on Instagram and YouTube, and www.loadout.shop. Check it out. Loads of cool tools and all sorts. It's like a candy shop for blokes.
We said, didn't we, before we started filming, buying tools and shopping for tools, it's the new toys, isn't it? It's boys' toys. Yeah. So anyway, I hope everyone out there who's watched this video has found it useful. Please make sure you like, subscribe and hit the notification button to see more videos from us here at SGTV. Mike, I want to thank you for coming on the show once again. It's been a pleasure to have you on. So,
thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Right, we'll see you all next time. Thank you.